All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Thursday leadership training. So excited to be with you here today. It is just a fantastic lesson we have planned for today. For those of you following the John Maxwell program, we are doing a program with him called The Power of Five. So what we've done so far over the past couple of months with this program is we've gone over four things now. For today's the fourth thing we're going over. So we've gone over growth matters, growing matters, connecting matters, mindset matters, which was really good. But now, Cheryl, we're at my favorite, which is leading matters. And, when I first joined this industry, I don't know, 25 years ago, the owner of the company I was with told me I saw Brilliant Compensation, loved it, knew I wanted to be in this industry for the rest of my life. And I started making some money. I started being successful, but I wanted to be really successful. So I asked him, like, what can I do to become really successful? And he's like, you got to get a book called 21 Laws of Leadership and memorize it and master it. So I did that. I met John Maxwell, ended up becoming a John Maxwell certified leadership coach because I am obsessed with his trainings and the wisdom that this man has on this topic of leadership, and really grasping how critically important this topic is of leadership. So when he says leading matters, Cheryl, he really means it.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that he said, there's no way that I would do a book or even talk, if I'm not putting leadership in there, because that has been his passion. And he said that he learned at a very young age what leadership meant, which is he told us, in this week's lesson, and it was so fantastic. I really think this is, I might always say this, but one of my favorites, because I just think he is so cool. That's what it is. He's so cool, and he gets the message across in a way that anybody can understand. Yeah,
he certainly does that. And so I was at a GoPro event, actually with Cheryl. We were in Las Vegas at a GoPro event, and there was a little reception party the night before the whole thing started. And I just happened to be talking to Eric Worre, and I'm like, hey, are you excited about tomorrow, this weekend? Because John Maxwell happened to be there. Remember that, Cheryl? It was that weekend that John Maxwell's there. So to have John Maxwell there was amazing. But Eric, I'll never forget this. I mean, I was in a little cocktail area. We were having a conversation. He said to me, tomorrow morning will be the most important speech I will ever give in my entire life. I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big statement. He's given a lot of speeches, taught a lot of lessons, but this one was going to be the most important of all time. And he's like, absolutely. So of course I got there, got a good seat. And I was actually sitting right next to Cheryl, and he was going over this topic of leadership. This was Eric Worre speaking, and I'll get everyone this recording because I have the recording and I will post it. But he said, finding and developing leaders is the key. Everything else we do is just buying time. Which we're like, wait a second, we're not just buying time. We're helping people get healthy, and we're doing a lot of great things for people, which is all true. But if you are serious about building a health coaching business, if this is like, hey, I would love to make at least some great part-time money, or even full-time money, or huge money, it can be done here. But it all comes down to leadership. And Cheryl, I know John talked about the three big quotes that he has, the three things he really bases his leadership training on. And yes, these three quotes, like, I get goosebumps when I read them because they're so simple yet so powerful.
Yeah.
So let's go over those three.
Okay, I love that he just gives like 3 or 5 or things that you can do, because it seems like it is doable if it's action that we need to get into, or it's just something that we can take and always remember. So the 3 big quotes that he talks about leadership is, the first one is, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Yeah. And I love that. I mean, that's it. It's influence.
Yeah, that's it. And by the way, the notes, everybody, is at hccc.info. Just go there, and at the very top, it says, click here for our notes, and you can see them all there. But people, have a whole lot of different definitions. If you ask 100 people, what is leadership? They'll give you all these different things, but it is leadership. The definition of leadership is influencing someone. Nothing more than that, but nothing less. So influencing people is very difficult. But it's something that we all need to master, and we're influencing people to take the 90 essential nutrients. That is our mission. We know that once we get people to take all 90, not 60 of them or 90, or 85 of them, but all 90, your whole life changes. Your health is just perfect when you get all 90 in. So we have to influence people and educate them and get them to see the light that this is what they have to do on a daily basis. And it's not just some days, it's every day.
Right. And I think it's interesting that, yes, we are influencing people and leading people to get healthy, right? To take those 90 essential nutrients. But to take it even one step farther is we want them to know the benefits of being a health coach. So if there's anybody out there in the whole world that has ever wanted to have their own business, I believe, and I know Paul believes, that being a health coach here at this time in this company will make all the difference in the world. And so we are also influencing them by, see, for me, I have to tell you, it's very easy because I know exactly what it was like before for 23 years of trying to figure out what I was doing to now where it is very systematic. It's in a system. It's in an easy to follow plan that I can simply influence or lead other people along the path. And it makes the biggest difference, Paul. And I really think that's important because, yes, we do want to influence people to get healthy. Absolutely. And it seems like it's easier than anything right now, right? After everything we've been through. But to let them know that we have something in place that will be beneficial for them, that they can just plug right into and follow along. I mean, that's really what it's about for me.
Absolutely. 1,000%. So we're influencing people to do a lot of things, but like Cheryl said, get healthy is number one and become a health coach is number two. Yep. So what's the next quote, Cheryl?
It is everything rises and falls on leadership. And I love that John said that, okay, let me think if I can remember exactly what he said. So everything rises and falls on leadership. So he talked about the one of his leadership things is that you can't have a team that's any better than your lid. So your lid stops. So whatever your lid is, however high your leadership lid is, that's as high as everybody on your team can go. Mm-hmm. And I love that he said that that a follower's best day is a great leader, and a follower's worst day is when they have a bad leader. And I love that because I was like, oh my gosh, how true is that? I mean, you guys know you've been in a situation where you haven't had a good leader, and it's just, it's hard. It's like you're spinning your wheels. That's what I felt like before.
Yeah. There's another book that Cheryl and I love. It's called Extreme Ownership by Jocko. And he tells a story that just sticks with me all the time. And I know, Cheryl, this is your favorite story too, about the boats. So we're in Navy SEALs training.
Yep.
And there's different boat teams and they're all in races. You get, that your team gets in there and you row and you have a race in the boat. And team 2 was killing it. I mean, winning every race. And team 6 was coming in last. Every single race they came in last. And then the other ones were kind of like in between someplace. So, of course, the boat captain for 6 is like, my people stink. They're horrible. Terrible people. And then he's like, well, if I had those guys in boat 2, I would be winning too. Because like, if you come in last, like you got to do push-ups or whatever they made him do as a punishment for coming in last. So this guy was flipping out. And so the captain, or that drill sergeant guy, said, okay, fine. You take boat 2 and we'll put the boat 2 captain leader into boat 6.
Right.
And what happened, Cheryl?
Boat 6 came in first.
Boat 6 won every race.
So it's fascinating though, to me, that I mean, such a great lesson there that this guy thinks that it has nothing to do with him and it has everything to do with the team that he got. That's not true, because he just switched the team captains and they won. That nothing changed. Nothing changed with those men, right? They're the same guys. But what changed was the captain. And I love that. I think that is, I mean, I think about that too. I just think it's so awesome.
Yeah. And so that just reminds us that when John says everything, he means everything rises and falls in leadership. It's the most important thing there is. Yep. And the third one, Cheryl?
How well you lead is how well you succeed.
Yeah. So I'm not feeling that successful. Like my paycheck's not worth it. I want it to be like, so what am I doing wrong, Cheryl?
Well, your leading ability.
Right. Exactly. So we can go on all day long, have like a 6-hour conversation about things you're not doing right. There's no conversation here. It's your leadership lid. It all comes down to that. As Cheryl just said, there's the lid. If your lid's at 7, there's no way you can have an 8 business. It's absolutely impossible. So you have got to raise your lid. And as soon as your lid goes up, you become more successful. It's just as simple as that. So Cheryl, $1 million question here. How do I gain influence?
Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. I couldn't believe it. I had my pen and paper out and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I can hardly wait for this answer. And I'm doing it no matter what it is. And I just loved that it is.
You do it every single week.
I know that, but listen, it's so easy. It is so simple, but it's just crazy that it's all about, right? If you want to lead or raise your leadership lid, you have to intentionally add value to other people. That's it. Intentionally add value. And something that I love that John said was, and if you don't think you can add value to people, then you shouldn't be at this class. You should be in therapy, which I thought was awesome. I just thought that was so cute, because I think a lot of times if I said, oh, if someone told me, oh, we'll go out and add value, I'd be like, okay, let me think about that. Now, how exactly am I going to do that? Right? It's not, everybody can add value, every single person, and it's not hard. We all add value, especially to the people in our lives, right? But it's how do we add value, which every time you have someone take a health evaluation, that's adding value. That's like they're realizing something and getting some knowledge that they never knew before, right? That's adding value. So I just look at because when I think of add value, I think of, oh, Tony Robbins. Now there's someone that adds value, right? And so I tend to think about these fantastic figures who are adding value to millions. But what is the value that we can add? And we can do it now. We are doing it, right? Every single day. Every single week we do that. And I just think I really want you guys to remember that it's something that simple, because I think that's really important. Instead of, and he talks about this, and I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, but really getting into action and not waiting, right? Not waiting for the perfect time. And I know we're going to talk about it, but that's what it reminded me of. When I want to get really good, I want to get good enough to help millions before I start helping one. Right? That's kind of what it's like. So we just have to remember that we're helping a lot of people.
Yeah, and really, but intentionally adding value to other people means I'm growing myself first.
Oh,
it always goes back to that analogy on the airplane. When the masks drop, make sure you put your mask on first, then help the person next to you. There's a reason why they say that. You have got to help yourself first. And I know a lot of us have a tough time grasping that we just think we're going to go out and help other people. If you don't know anything, you don't have any value, it's hard to add value. So I'm obsessed with personal growth. I read all these books, listen to all these programs. Why? Because I want to add value to other people. So you got to grow first, then you can contribute. It's got to go in that order.
Well, and I think a perfect way to do that, and all of you guys have done that, I think, but becoming a health coach. That's a perfect way to do it. It's a perfect way for you to grow so that you can help others.
Absolutely. And John mentions Developing a Leader Within You 2.0, a book. It's a book he wrote. It's absolutely ridiculously awesome. So if there's a place that you're like, well, where do I start my journey? How do I become a better leader? It's the 21 Laws of Leadership book. And then the book, Develop the Leader Within You, 2.0. So there's a second version that he made after, he made one in the very, very beginning of his career. And then after 30 years of being a leadership trainer and working with all these different CEOs, he came out with the 2.0 book, which was everything he learned along the way. So it's absolutely fantastic. But Cheryl, what is our biggest leadership challenge?
I don't want this to be the answer. So
I was like, wow, this is gonna be great. Like, I was just like you. I'm like, I'm writing this down, What is our biggest challenge? Because I'm always about the challenge.
I had a bunch of things too. I'm like, I stopped mine and then I wrote down what I thought it would be. And I
Really?
promise you, this didn't come up. This didn't come up. So what John told us is that your biggest leadership challenge and his biggest leadership challenge is leading yourself.
Yeah.
So it's all, and I just thought, oh no, that's what it is. Help. Right. But how true is that? And I love what he said. He said, hey, listen, it's easy to lead other people. I can tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. And all of these great things. And he's so funny. He's like, yeah. And if you want me to tell you what to do, then just come up and see me during the break. And I'll have a life mission here for you. And I'll have everything set in place and you can just go ahead and have at it. And he goes, and I'll go home and rest.
Yeah.
I love. So isn't that right though? But you guys think about that. Who in your life is somebody that just like tells you what to do? Or if you have anybody like this, I have before, just tells you what to do, but they aren't even leading themselves. And so why on earth would you follow them? Right? I mean, that's a perfect example. That's what I love about Paul. He's not kidding when he says that he does certain things like the magic morning every single day. Anybody who's not doing that, rest assured Paul is. And Paul will be doing it even when you're not, and even when I'm not, right? And so that's one of the ways that you can lead yourself. That's just kind of a little example, though, that's one of the ways that you lead yourself. You say you're going to do something, and then you do it.
Yeah, it's so true, Cheryl. But, so I got goosebumps too, because I had no idea he was going to say that. So that was like a big moment. And if I turn the recording off, then like I got a lot of value out of this lesson. Like I could just leave and we've learned so many great nuggets. But what we're about to say in the next few minutes here is something like literally get like an extra sheet of paper out and write this down, because this is what the rest of your life has to look like. Because then you said, okay, let's go start digging a little deeper here. Now, what are the 3 things you have to do in order to lead yourself effectively? Yeah. And I'm like, whenever he comes up with like 3 things like this, like I'm like foaming at the mouth and drooling. I'm like ready to take these notes. And the 3 things we're going to tell you are so simple, yet so difficult. And at the same time, and but it's, when he came up with these 3 things, it wasn't like he thought about it for a few minutes and then came up with these 3 things. This is 40 years of being with leaders and teaching leadership that he came up with these 3 things, through trial and error. And Cheryl, I just think they are just golden, just unbelievable. So what is the number one thing that you need to do to lead yourself effectively?
Yeah, I love this. The number one thing that John says is you have to live intentionally, right? So, and I love the way he says it, because live intentionally. Well, I'm living intentionally. I must be, and then he goes on to say, this is what that means. Stop accepting your life and start leading your life. So if you're leading your life, you're not accepting where you're at. You're not accepting the things that are going on. And I absolutely love that. I thought it was so good. I just love that part. And take control, right?
I never thought that's the opposite. Taking control of your life is the opposite of accepting your life. But
I never did either. I never looked
thought it through. I'm like, man, he's right about that.
That's right. And I love that he says, you just hope that everything will work out. That is not living your life intentionally. Oh, well, it'll probably just work out.
Yeah. Or they think something or someone else is going to make their day.
Oh, can you believe that? I was like, you think somebody else will make you happy that day.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm going to put here in the notes. I didn't put this before, but it's another Mel Robbins thing that Cheryl and I are just love when she says, no one is coming.
Oh, well, I love that because boy, isn't that the truth? No one is coming.
You know, and so many people think something's going to come.
Well,
and
we
then
learned
it'll
that from
fix everything.
I mean, I'm waiting for your knight in shining armor, ladies.
Something, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. But that's never going to happen. So,
Or they're just waiting for others to take initiative or action.
Oh my gosh. That's just exactly right.
Well, Cheryl, I got my team. I'm just waiting for them to do something. Like that's not how I operate. I'm doing myself. That's what I'm doing the daily sheet, the funnel. Now my team sees me doing the funnel every single day and filling all the numbers in. So they're like, you got to lead by example. So I'm not waiting for anybody to take initiative or action. I'm going to continue to look for people until I find the right people that take massive action initiative on their own.
Yeah. Action is super important. I mean,
yeah. So let's talk about good intentions, Cheryl. I thought of you a lot when you was talking about good intentions, and it's like I intended to do well. Like I think everyone has great intentions, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, he said that's the worst thing that you can have is good intentions because you have
So I'm
good
like,
intentions.
wow, the worst thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But he said that hurts more people than anything because the good intentions, there's no action behind it. And so it never happens. But you intended to do a really great thing. And I kind of thought about that too. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Because I'm telling you, and you guys think about this. Honestly, I have the best intentions on earth. I really do. I have the best intentions with everything that I'm doing, but it's not until I put that action behind it that it becomes what I think is it becomes what other people need to hear. It becomes that way to add value to other people's lives. Like I've got the greatest intentions, but every minute of every day, do I put the action behind it? No, not all the time because stuff starts creeping in and then you're like, oh, and then you're stopped or whatever. So it's super important to remember that yes, good intentions are fine, but not without the action.
Yeah, you got to turn your good intentions into good actions.
Yes.
And that's that one sentence. I was like, wow, let me write that one down. It's a powerful statement. You turn your good intentions into good actions.
Yeah. The next one I love, Paul.
Yeah, no, a lot of people, they let others have control over their life.
That is so bad. I talk to so many women, you guys, all the time that's really happening in their lives. And I feel like, oh my gosh, come on, we've got to get you to a point where, where it's a partnership, right? It's a partnership. It's either you on your own or it's a partnership. It cannot be someone, it can't be you letting someone else control you.
No, it's got to be a win-win.
Yeah.
And they also give responsibility of their potential into someone else's hands.
Yeah.
So, Cheryl, you don't have that much potential, and so you really shouldn't try.
Right.
People say, I've said that to you in your life, and you just can't, put that, your potential in someone else's hands and believe that because the sky's the limit for you.
Right. For all of us, right? It's for every single one of you. And if someone is saying something like that holds you back, that's what we want you to be aware of. We do not want to do that.
So powerful. And then there's realizing that there's no perfect moment to start. This is what you were talking about earlier.
Hey, I love that one. I love that because you guys, what if I would have said, oh, Dr. Wallach, this sounds nice 25 years ago, but you know what? I'm going to wait until you get things up and running because then I think it might be a better time for me to get involved. Yeah. What if I would have said that? at any of these things, anytime a great opportunity comes along that you know in your heart and your gut are the right thing, you have to do it. You have to step out there. And I tell people that now. Well, I don't know. Okay, well, I need you to really think on it. I need you to meditate on it. And I need you to decide if you think that this health coaching program would be beneficial to you and your family.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that it won't be. They cannot tell me that. They can say, oh, well, I don't want to do it. But don't tell me that it's not the right time, because there's never a right time, and the right time is right now, right?
Yeah.
That's what I always, but I get in these conversations, right?
And we throw those words around that, there's no perfect time, but, you're going to talk to a lot of potential coaches out there that they're just like, this coaching program sounds amazing, awesome, but something I think I would probably really like to do. Just right now is it's not a good time for me. I got a lot of things going on. So I look back at my life, and Cheryl, I know a lot about you and your life. Has there ever really been a good time for you in the past 30 years for you to start the health course, take it?
No.
No, you're always busy. I'm always busy. Everyone's always busy.
Yeah.
I like things died down and now I'm less busy. It isn't, we just get busier.
No. And it's all about value, right? It's like, what do you value? What do you or what does that person value enough to bring that to the forefront to say, yes, I'll do this. That's what it is. I mean, it's how much, but you have to remember that it's getting into that action right away.
Yeah. So this is something you can literally say to your prospects. If they say to you, now is just not the right time. And you're like, listen, Joe.
What does that mean?
Realize that there is no perfect moment to start this. We're always busy, and then you'd be like,
now than later.
About that. Okay, here, I'm ready to go, and that literally that one statement can change their mind because no one would disagree about that.
Yeah.
Next part, show. I love this story he told. I forgot who he was with, but someone.
He was with the Just Do It guy.
Nope. That's coming later.
Oh.
This was another guy he was with that he's writing some books with now. I can't think of his name. Somebody has it. Type it in there.
I don't know either.
Oh yeah, the Kind Bar founder. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So someone's paying attention. See, all those people.
Someone's really paying attention.
You
see who I'm focused on? I'm focused on the swimmer.
Yeah, that's going to be a great story coming up here. So he talked about being an optimist versus being an actionist.
Yes.
His job was like, I think being an optimist is super important. He's like, no, it's not. Being an actionist is important.
John's like, oh, I've never heard of that word. And he's like, oh, well, it's not a word.
Yeah, it doesn't exist, but.
Which that's what I loved about it. I was like, okay, great. Yeah, but an actionist, that is true. Because, you can be an optimist all you want. I've been an optimist my whole life. But if you don't put that into action, then honestly, if you do not put into action whatever you decide to do, right, to move your life forward, then, I could be an optimist all I want, but it didn't help me grow until I decided to start doing the work that I needed in self-development to grow.
Yeah. But there's no better example than Cheryl and myself. Like, we got together and we had a plan. And I firmly believe you have to start with a plan.
Yeah.
There's a plan there, then we did it. And while we're doing it, we realize, well, wait a second, we need to shift a little bit here, left or right a little bit, make a little adjustment. And we did. But we did some more. We got into action. And I'm telling you right now that if we didn't do that, get into action and do it, we would have never learned anything about what we need to shift, about what we need to, we reviewed and then we made an adjustment. We would have never known these adjustments to make without doing. So you just, it's I think one of the best analogies is learning how to drive. You can be sitting next to your parents for 16 years in that car, watching them drive. But that first time you get behind the wheel, it's a whole different experience. And you will never become a great driver until you drive. It's just, that's it. You can't sit in the passenger seat. You got to get behind the wheel and take the action.
So it's so funny. I let both of my kids drive the car down our lane now. So my son just did it on Sunday. He always likes to drive home when we're coming home from church, just down the lane. I mean, they're 13, so I make sure we get to our lane first. Yeah. So he was driving and he got all the way, he pulled all the way in and he did such a great job. But we were walking in the house and he goes, Mom, oh my gosh, that is so hard. I don't see how you're driving on the road and and listening to the radio and talking to us. I could never do that. I said, listen, you just have to do it and do it and do it and do it. And you will, and then it'll just become like second nature. And I was telling him that with everything, you just have to do it. Right. And you have to, but the very first thing is actually doing it. You've got to move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat and do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's so important.
So good. So that was all about living intentionally. So Cheryl mentioned me in my magic morning every single day, but I literally feel lost throughout the day if I don't take that little bit of time and saying, how is today going to look? I'm just never winging today. I mean, I have a very detailed list, probably that would make most of you shiver. But it's extremely detailed. And does it all happen? No. Have I learned how to be flexible over the years? Yes. But, there is very intentional, like I am drinking a gallon of water today. I am exercising today. Like I have my non-negotiable list of these. I'm doing my personal growth today. There's things that I will not go to bed until these things are done. The big rocks. And
I just don't have a list so that I don't have to move anything around. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You're not exactly living intentionally without the list.
That's right.
Now, what's really great, Cheryl, is the next part, though. Once you make the list out and say what you're going to do, what should you do then?
Well, then you should exceed all expectations.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I love that. He said, stop doing what is expected and start doing more than is expected.
So I know we're obsessed with Art Williams and his speech, and I'm going to post that speech too, because the Just Do It speech you'll get goosebumps when you listen to it.
I love it.
But when he said, and I literally had to pause the recording after he made the statement, because he asked Art, he knows that Art swims for an hour every single day. How did your hour swim go? And Art goes, I didn't swim for an hour. I swim for an hour and 3 minutes.
Now I have a question. I want each of you to put in this chat, what is something that you do every day that you exceed expectation? Is there something that you do every day that you exceed the expectation of what you've set for yourself? Because I will tell you, I realized when I do the cold plunge, I do it for 10 minutes, but I do it for 10 minutes and 10 seconds every single day. But I don't know why I do that. I do it because I can say I did it for longer than 10 minutes, but I didn't realize any of that until I listened to this. And so it's exceeding, and believe me, I'm not staying in there 3 extra minutes. I'm staying in there 10 seconds more, but that exceeds my 10-minute expectation that I set for myself. So, but I just never knew why I did it, but I did it because it makes me feel good. So what are you doing? Because I think it's super important to realize the little things that we're doing because they make us feel good, or because we think it helps us a little bit, or because we want to become better, right? Whatever it is. But I think by realizing that now, then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing exactly what he's talking about. I'm exceeding an expectation that I've set for myself. Super important to realize it though. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you start living with this mentality, so like when I'll go to the gym and I'll have this workout program and it's like, you got to do, 100 pounds 10 times. Like I'm never stopping at 10. I'm always doing 11 or 12. Like I'm going to always exceed expectations. And if you do that on a consistent basis and on certain things in your life, it'll carry over to other areas of your life, and you will have So he goes on to say, boy, I don't know where I heard this before, to raise your standards and to tell the world that an hour is not enough. I'm doing an hour and 3 minutes.
Yeah, he said that's really important to declare it to the world, because then you can't talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, so that's step 2. So the first thing is to set declare the new standard. Raise your standards was number 1. Then tell the rest of the world about it.
Yep.
And then achieve that standard. So let's say I want to weigh 190. So I raise my standard. I'm going to get to a certain weight. I'm going to declare, I'm going to tell the whole world I'm going to get to 190. And then I'm going to achieve that standard. Or I'm going to get to a certain rank in the company. I'm going to make it to 3-star. Okay. So I tell the whole world I'm going 3-star. And then I achieve that rank of 3-star. Now, what do you do, Cheryl, when you achieve the rank of 3-star?
Well, then you have to up it.
Repeat it. Repeat that process.
Yeah. You have to repeat
raise your
it,
standards
you
again.
have to raise it even more. So now I'm going to 4-star.
Yeah.
So, and he
then,
said,
so you raise your standards. Then what do you do after you raise your standards to 4-star?
Then you raise it to 5.
No, you got to declare it to the world.
Well, yeah, you do the same exact thing.
And then you achieve it.
Yep.
Now we've done that twice, where we
Yeah.
set a new standard, we declared to the world, and we achieved it. So we said that for 3-star, we said that for 4-star. And when he said this, I was like total goosebumps, like totally emotionally blown away. When you do this 2 times, people will stop watching you and they will start following you.
Yep.
2 times you got to do it. Set a new standard, tell the world what that standard is, go on Facebook, post it to 2.2 billion people, and then you got to achieve that new standard. And then do it again. Now you've gone from people just watching you to now they're going to start following you. And then next thing, now where you go do it 3 times, you say, now I'm going to go 5-star. You tell the whole world, you achieve it. He says, when you do it a 3rd time, that's where legends live. I mean, wow. So the formula is there. I mean, there's no question. I want to be a legend, and hopefully a lot of people listening to this call want to be a legend. That's the formula right there. It's just set the standard, declare it, achieve it, and repeat it 3 times.
Yep. And
Now, Cheryl,
I like the next one a lot.
You're talking about the third key to intentionally living your intentionally
exceeding
leading yourself.
expectations. Yeah, and he was talking about, it really has to come from you. So he said, if anyone sets the bar for you, whatever that is, that whatever expectation that you want to succeed, if somebody else sets it for you, you are in big trouble.
Yeah.
Because you won't do it. You won't,
Yeah.
because you didn't decide.
Yeah, I see that so true in so many cases in my own life and in other people's lives.
Well, right. And how many times do we want to set the bar for people who want to build their business? Oh, I want it worse than they do.
Mm-hmm.
All the time, right? I mean, because we know how great it is, but then we set the bar for them and they have to set their own bar or it will never work.
Right. So you have to do 3 things in order to lead yourself effectively. Number 1, live intentionally. Number 2, exceed expectations. And number 3, Cheryl, is what?
You have to be consistent.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this part. I mean, he was talking just to me. I mean, he did that whole thing just for me. Because stop doing important things some days and start doing important things every day, right? That's so important. That's why the magic morning, every single morning, not just every once in a while, or not just when you feel like getting up, right? It's every single day because of the difference that can make.
Yeah. Start small. Start with your supplements. Just say, I'm never going to miss a day of my supplements for the rest of my life. You just go from some days taking them to saying, I'm going to do it every day, 7 days a week, never miss a day.
Right.
And that one habit can lead over and you'll create more habits based on that too. But you got to pick one thing, and there's no better thing to pick than taking your supplements every day.
Right.
So going from some days to every day is the difference between successful and unsuccessful. That's it. The only, you hear all the time, what's the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people? Some days and every day. That's it. That's the only difference. They show up every single day. Now, Cheryl, showing up every day is not good enough. You have to be consistent, consistency with priorities.
Yeah, you need your priorities.
Now, he was talking about people, and we know a lot of people like this. They show up every single day. They have a lot of consistency, but they're not doing the high priorities.
But they're dependable.
They are, but they're not getting anywhere is because they're not doing the big rocks.
That's right. Yep.
So you got to have both. You got to be consistent, have the consistency, and you got to have the priorities.
Yes. And you can't have just one.
No. So 2 big words, consistent priorities. So you have to be consistent. So Cheryl, this last part here is like my most favorite thing ever now. I'm going to be mentioning the ice cube from this day forward for the rest of my life in everything I do. So tell us about the ice cube, Cheryl.
Yeah, it had a much bigger impact on you than it did on me. I thought it was nice, but I just really liked one part about it. So he says that melting an ice cube, right? So we know if you're 29 degrees, you're not going to melt the ice cube, right? If you're 30 degrees, you're not going to melt the ice cube. If you are 31 degrees, still the ice cube is not going to melt. 32 degrees, John says it will. Paul and I think it's 33 degrees. So depending on whatever you think it is, we'll say 32 degrees, the ice cube will not melt. But at 33 degrees.
He is an expert in leadership. No one said he was an expert in chemistry. So,
yeah, but that's it. I mean, at 33 degrees, the ice cube will melt. So yes, that's absolutely right. But the thing that I found most fascinating is all of that time that we're trying to melt the ice cube at 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 degrees, all of that stored up work will eventually show up. And I think that's to me, that's the most important part of the whole thing, because we get involved in something. And think about people in your life like this. They get involved in something and they work and they work and they work. We say it'll take 2 to 3 years to build a great network marketing team and a paycheck, right? Let's just say that's what we tell people, which we should, because it does. So they work and they work and they work and they work. And at 1 year and 11 months, they say, oh no, I just don't even want to do it anymore. I'm done. It didn't happen fast enough. It didn't happen how I wanted it to. It didn't happen how I thought it would. And so they quit.
Yeah.
And guess what? All of that work is lost.
Yeah.
Everything that you've done. And I find it so fascinating that stored up work will eventually show up.
Yeah.
I'm a living example of that, right? I'm a living example. I mean, this to me, that stuck out to me like anything. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I never, even when I didn't see it working or happening, because you won't see it.
Yeah. And I just feel like this one analogy fits our coaching program better than any analogy I've ever seen in my whole life. Because I see so many health coaches right now take the course. They start, trying to build a health coaching business, but they're just not, maybe they've done it a month, 2, 3, 4 months. They just they don't see the income coming in like they thought they were. And they just feel discouraged.
Yep.
Now being successful, the analogy here is being successful is melting the ice cube.
Yes.
So just because you started the whole thing off at 25 degrees, but you can go up to 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, like Cheryl said, and not see any results. The ice is, listen, Paul, that ice cube is just as hard as it was when I started.
Yeah.
There's no progress.
Yes, there is.
And you
though.
just feel so depleted in that, but you don't realize that you're storing up this work the whole time. And the work you got to go from 25 to 30 degrees is all going to show up, like Cheryl said. And then one day, this happens to everybody. Paul and Cheryl, they're overnight success. Boom, look at them. Unbelievable. Really? It took us 25 years to get here. So but it was built up. It was stored up work that we did over the years that now everyone says, oh, they're just an overnight success. Not, they don't see you back when we're at 25 degrees and working up to be at 33 degrees.
Oh, yes.
You know, so all that counts, folks. Everything you're doing is counting and building up. You know, so keep consistently working on your priorities, which are all listed in the funnel. So every single person in front of them right now should have a week sheet, weekly tracker. And on that weekly tracker, it goes over 8 things that you have to do every single day to be successful here. And when you consistently work on those 8 priorities, you will get to 33 degrees. And that's where the magic starts happening in your life. I mean, you know, at 33 degrees, you go from 1-star to 5-star like that. You're like, I couldn't be successful at all. And now all of a sudden things are exploding. You're right. It's unfair how this works, but the cube does not melt till 33. It's just the way it is. And it's the same way in business. You think you're working hard and you're just not seeing any results at all, but you can't see any results till you get to 33. So it's just building yourself up. And eventually you are going to be at 33 or higher, and the ice is just going to melt automatically. So our message to all of you is, let's go melt some ice. I mean, that's what I'm about now. I'm going to make that my tagline. Let's go melt some ice. So I'm super excited. So Cheryl, I don't think anyone else in the world could have taken a 20-minute lesson from John Maxwell and turned it into a 52-minute talk. But we were able to do just that.
Yeah, well, we're good at it. Debbie has her hand raised.
Yeah, let's hear some other people here.
Hi, Debbie.
There we go. Thank you. You know, the stored work that you do does come back. And sometimes it comes back years later with some people. So keep on doing the work and it will pay off eventually. So I just got to tell you, that is very true statement.
Thank you for that. And you're living proof of that. Awesome. Anybody else have any comments that they got out of this lesson that Cheryl and I failed to mention, or something we did mention that really hit you hard at, like, wow, that impacted me a lot? There's Reggie.
Hi, Reggie.
Okay.
Hi, Reggie.
Okay. Hi. I absolutely love the part where it says, don't do the important things occasionally or something like this, but
Yeah.
do the important things every single day,
Yes.
consistently. It's like the drop of water hitting the cement block every single time, and it.
That's right.
Yeah.
How long does that take, though?
A
How long
time.
does that take? It takes forever, right? But you just have to keep
Exactly.
doing it. Yeah, that's so great.
Right. One of our mentors said, if you don't quit, you can never lose. The only way you can lose is quit. That's what this is all about, continuing consistently, but doing the right things every day. I love that part. I think you're
Yes,
frozen, Paul.
Oh,
no,
you're
he
not.
isn't.
Okay.
He just looks frozen. No, he's
Okay.
not. You're not frozen.
okay.
Thanks, guys. This was awesome.
Great, Reggie. It's good to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Norma. Hello.
Hi, you guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, great. Sorry, I'm in the middle of something. I can't open my camera, but I'm very happy to see you all. And going back on what we're talking about, recently I just started going back to walk. I used to be a runner back in the days, very more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been a challenge. Let me tell you, all y'all. I in the first couple of weeks I almost quit because you know how hard for the body to adjust it again. All the pain and achy muscles, it was terrible.
Mhm.
And it's nothing going, you know, because the weight problem is more like it's something that I want to do something, challenge myself, going back to what I used to be so athlete and active. So in those 3 words you guys go over today, it clicked me. I have to be consistent no matter what, no matter what. Even it's rain, it's hot, and it's really challenge for me because I have more than 20 years ago that I let it go running. Now I'm like doing baby steps, walking slowly, and I'm very happy because lately I start with 10 to 15 minutes, and now I'm pushing myself 30 to 45 minutes. So I'm walking more than 2 miles every day. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
So
It's
awesome.
This is something I really want to share with you guys.
Yes, absolutely. And I love
That's
that you put
exceeding
it out
expectations.
there. Yeah, I love that you put it out there for us because now you can't talk yourself out of it and you're going to have to go out there and walk every day no matter what. So that's awesome, Norma. That's fantastic. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay. Hi, Becca.
Hi.
How are you?
I am fantastic. Fantastic. I absolutely love this lesson. And it really, there were so many golden nuggets, so many. But I think the one thing that in this last year and a half that I've done that has really added to those little steps, and then it starts to compound, is being a leader. I mean, you can't just sign somebody up and expect them. Well, I can't sign somebody up and expect them to do what I do or did. And that's like dig in and learn everything myself and try to figure it out. And there aren't a lot of people that have the time to do that. And really leading and getting my team together and reaching out to the folks on my team, finding out where they're at, and encouraging them to reach their goals has made a serious impact on this whole last even 6 months, year. It's been incredible. So I really encourage those of you that have enrolled people, reach out to them, connect with them. You know, don't just leave them frailing to figure stuff out for themselves. Be the leader. I can't say that enough. And that's something that I really appreciate about you and Cheryl and Paul is you take so much time and putting things together and bringing us together and encouraging us and building us up and, you know, pushing us that, you know, some of us have needed that push. And then to declare what we're going to do, make it happen. I absolutely love seeing that happen.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome, Becca. Thank you so much. Okay, you guys, well, we are about out of time, but I do want to hear from one more person. And this person I always, I've really noticed that they are like super consistent. So that's Caroline. I want her to come on and talk about how she decided to be so consistent, because like I see her doing like the Friday interview. Like I know that she does a Friday interview and now she's doing like a cooking thing with Julie, the chef, right? So now she does that. But I love the way that she is, and she consistently is on social media. which is something that's not easy for me at all. Like I'm not as consistent at all, even though I have a lot of good ideas of what I want to say. But you know what? That's just it. Now it's time to like be like that. But Caroline, talk to us about how you realize that being consistent is so important when you started this whole process.
Well, one of the big things was that those Facebook lives and all of that, those were things that were terrifying to me. But I knew there were other people that were also afraid of doing those things. And we can't let those things stop us. So I had to get out of my comfort zone and do something that was hard for a lot of people to help them understand that you can do hard things and overcome any obstacle. So I started Final Straw Friday to start highlighting people's transformations and things for them to be able to tell their story. Because nobody wants to hear me tell somebody's story, but they really like watching the interviews of them tell their own stories. So that's why I started that. And then this, the keto kitchen, everybody's asking, well, what do you cook when you're on keto? How do you do that? How can I make this for my family? How do, all of these questions? Well, let me overcome a fear and show you. And so that's why I started doing that.
Has it made a difference in your business?
Yes.
I already knew the answer to that, but I wanted you to say that. Yeah, I think it really does. And I think also you've told me before that in your self-confidence and in the things that you know you can do and are able to do now has made such a big difference. So
absolutely. And just knowing that, and I love this, the raising the standard just that little bit. Last week I went for a run and I wanted to get to the airport from my house. And doing the 75 hard thing, you only have to do these 45-minute workouts, but I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I wanted to get to the airport. So I'm cooking along, and then all of a sudden I look, I'm like, oh, crud. This is going to be way more than 45 minutes, but I hadn't made it to the airport yet. So I had to keep going. So the expectation was to make it to the airport regardless of how long it took me to get there. So that was just something recently that this works so well with.
Awesome. Beautiful, beautiful story too. Thank you so much. Paul, this was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was. I just love leadership, and does leading matter? 1,000%. I mean, the best statement of the whole thing we went over today was that leadership is influence. Everything rises and falls on leadership. That is the ultimate statement. And if you want your business to get better, you've got to continue to work on your leadership. Getting that book, The 21 Laws of Leadership, getting that book, Developing a Leader Within 2.0, being on these Thursday meetings, never missing a Thursday here, or watching the recording at least. And we're going to continue. Thursdays is, Cheryl and I have made a big shift away from strategy and training to developing leaders. That's all we want to do.
Well, and I think it's interesting, Paul, you always say that we've made a big shift away, but I don't think now we are doing like the leadership and the mindset, because we do believe that that's where we need to focus. But the great thing to me is the strategy is already there. Like the health coaching program is the strategy. That is the way. And so I love that we have like everything to me in 25 years finally seems to be falling into place so that people can develop their leadership skills, can work on their mindset, which I need to do both of those things myself, right? But that we have the plan and the strategy all set up. So I love that.
Yeah, I do too, Cheryl. And we're just feel so good about adding value to people. Hopefully everyone got value out of today's call, and really, write down those three things. I want to be a better leader. I understand I got to become a better leader. And it starts with leading yourself. And there's 3 steps you need to do to lead yourself. So write that down on a separate sheet of paper, that I must live intentionally, I must exceed expectations, and I have to be consistent.
and pick some things that you want to do in those 3 areas. I mean, I think it's great. Okay, I'm going to exceed expectations, but if we never talk about what expectations we're going to, exceed, then it's never going to happen, right? So why don't you write down a couple under each of those? You have to be consistent. Well, what are you going to be consistent in? Is it consistently get 2 people onto your list? Is it consistently do 1 health evaluation a day? What is it that you're going to do that you're going to be consistent at? And I think that's really important. And then how are you going to live your life intentionally? Like, what are you going to do that is going to move you into that place where you just will not accept the life that you have now? So what are you going to do though to do that? Because I'd love to see what those are. And the only reason I brought that up, Paul, is because that's what I'm going to do. That's what I have to do too. I have to do the same thing because all of this sounds so great to me, but I have to take it to the next step. So in my magic morning tomorrow, then I'm going to write down those things so that I have it down. So I have a plan on what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Great job, everyone. Let's unmute the lines and have everyone say goodbye. Have a great weekend, everyone.
To me, it's
Thank you so much. Have a great
child that
weekend.
has her
This
name.
is
It's like a bunch of
Wonderful
Everyone.
place.
Have a great day.